Hey there, Leo. How you doing? So this is a forecast just for you for the next 2 weeks. It's for the whole waning moon phase from the total lunar eclipse or the full moon in Leo on the 13th or 14th of March, taking you right the way through to the partial solar eclipse or new moon in Aries on the 29th of March. So we're going eclipse to eclipse. Both eclipses, obviously, eclipses involve the sun. Either the sun is in an opposition to the moon, i.e. With the total lunar eclipse or full moon, or the sun and the moon are in a conjunction with a new moon or partial solar eclipse. So we have got this very intensive eclipse period, and with a real interesting astrological kind of signature in between. So what I'm going to do in this shortish forecast dedicated just to you, whether you're a Leo or have Leo ascendant, I think this will be spot on for you. This is to pace you through the planetary aspects as they're taking, as they're taking shape, and to give you an idea on how you might choose to use the energies so that you maximize your impact, and that you can maybe create some space for some great possibilities to put into your life. So if you're new to this channel, my name's Louisa Tanner Munson, and this is Feel Good Astrology. And I guess Feel Good Astrology for me is my place to practice astrology in a way that creates a sense of freedom. Gives people a bit of wriggle room so that, they don't feel like the planets are imposing upon them, more that they can use the aspects in a way that helps to lift them up, or at least see what's coming and know how to kind of take a sidestep one way or another. So hopefully this is going to give you some choice, or a feeling of choice, a feeling of clarity, and you can take it from there. So, yeah, and if you have been here before, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining me once again. So yeah, this is quite a big thing. Let's bring up the slides now and explore what I think is a really jam-packed 2 weeks. Really, it's pretty nuts. So essentially we're going through the whole waning moon forecast from, like I said, the full moon or total lunar eclipse, right the way through to the partial solar eclipse or new moon at the other end. Now, as you'll see in this diagram, at the time we're coming into this reading, everything is fully illuminated. The moon is full. You may well be feeling a little bit stressed or possibly anxious or over emotional. It tends to be a time when we feel overdone, overcooked, overfull, overwhelmed. It's a time when everything that we've been creating thus far seems to come to fruition almost at the same time. So it can be a time when we're just a little bit like, that said, it's also deeply creative, so ideas and other intentions may well have created an upward kind of sort of spiral, and energies are kind of generating. So things can get quicker and quicker, and they can get out of control. And if you like having control, that can be a time when you might feel a little wary of what's going on. So after the full moon, we start the process of slowly letting go of the illumination, letting go of being completely conscious of what's going on around us. And we're coming to a time when we're going into the darkness, going into ourselves. It's the journey inside from the outside. That's how I like to see it. And so, in this first week, taking us up to the third quarter, when you can see it's half light and half dark in equal measures, what we're doing is we're letting go of things that obviously need to be let go of because they're too much. So any of the too muchness we can kind of let go of quite happily. But we are also starting to discern, and in particular around this time, the big challenge is to start making internalized decisions, stop being external and understanding this is too much and that over there, I need to move that. It's not about what's outside of you, but it's what's inside of you. And then we're really coming into the waning crescent moon, which is a lot, I would say, slower, a lot more gentle, a lot more mysterious. things aren't so obvious what we need to let go of. And so, we're working on faith, and tuning in, and our intuition, and so when we're letting go of things, we're really allowing for something new to come in. It's it's a very, very different energy. And then as we come to the new moon, we go into a place of full allowance, really, because when we can let go of things and allow for another possibility, and we don't know what that possibility is necessarily, but we are cleaning the slate so that we can create something new from, like magicians pulling something out of a big black hat or a big kind of black moon. That's it's deep, and it's private, and it's quite mysterious. So that's the journey to new moon. So if we look at this as a diary phase, we've got the full moon, total lunar eclipse here, and it's quite fast moving as well, I should say, because the sun is in a sextile to Uranus, which also means that the moon is in a trine to Uranus. So Uranus is our planet of sudden starts and stops, and sudden things coming up, and consciousness suddenly erupting, like there's a new burst of consciousness that we're aware of. So I do think coming up to this full moon and eclipse, the first eclipse of the year, things could very well get manic, but get manic quite quickly. And we get rude awakenings with Uranus. It's not it's not all fun change. It can really it can be quite disturbing and chaotic. And then this new moon 2 weeks later, it's a clean slate. And Aries energy is kind of let's move forwards, let's push forwards. So there is this kind of push feeling, and also there is this I think feeling of a direct stream of consciousness. So the new moon in Aries represents almost like the tip of an arrow. It's just like really pointing forwards. That's how I see it. In my mind's eye. There is this direct stream. So what's going on between these states? You can see there's lots of entries here. So the very next day is Mercury retrograde, which means at the time of the full moon, Mercury is all but, stopped. It really feels like Mercury is completely at a standstill. He's like, just come into that stop. And of course, the full moon in Virgo is a sign ruled by Mercury. So this is, this full moon also has a tinge of this retrograde, let's say, that thought is about to change. And interestingly, Uranus and Mercury are harmonics of consciousness, or harmonics of communication, harmonics of language, we could say. And Mercury is very much the physical language and communication and delivery of parcels. It could be information and communication. It could be actual physical parcels of like goods and services from place to place, and Uranus is almost like the internet version. Uranus is the higher harmonic of consciousness, the higher harmonic of communication, the virtual communication. So we've got two of them, and Uranus is kind of connected to the sun and moon, and Mercury is going standstill. So are things going to go bonkers? Are we going to kind of clam up and the internet go wild? Who knows? But yeah, the eclipses do tend to create this like bursting forth of knowledge within the world. I do think we're going to go through some big world events. It seems to stir up the archetypes in quite a big way, and I do think we're all going to be quite changed at the end of this period. And the new moon is very much for moving forward. So in between this, this is the halfway point, but boy, oh boy, we've got some stuff. And of course, your ruling planet is the sun. So what have we got? We've got the sun in a conjunction with the North Node. The sun represents your ego, your persona. The North Node represents your destiny, your karma. So there's something collective going on about how you connect. And, we're all doing it, but you as a Leo or Leo ascendant are really feeling it. There's this kind of date with destiny on the 17th where it really feels like, this is why I'm here right now. This is why I'm alive. There is an aliveness about it, and maybe a rewiring of the direction you're going in. the sun makes a conjunction with Neptune a couple of days later. And we have this opportunity to really connect into the soul wave, the energy of higher dimensional love, the energy of oneness at its highest expression. Can also be creativity, a loss of identity, going beyond the veils, which obviously you kind of do lose your identity or merge your identity, with a very strong Neptune theme. So that's pretty big. Then on the 20th, the sun goes into the sign of Aries, starting the astrological new year. I'm not one for celebrating man's new year on the 1st of January. I think the real new year happens on the 20th when we go into the new astrological year. So the sun will be in Aries, and it's kind of wakey, everybody, spring is here. Obviously, in the southern hemisphere, that's the start of autumn. And then we've got the sun making a conjunction to Venus and a conjunction to Mercury. Now, Venus is retrograde this whole time. So sun's making a conjunction to Venus retrograde, and then the day after is making a conjunction to Mercury retrograde. That's interesting, really interesting. Now you'll see here it says Cazimi, Cazimi, Cazimi. Now you might already know what a Cazimi is, but essentially the Cazimi is when the sun is illuminating the planet's energies so much that you really get a feel for the purest and best and strongest expression of that particular planet. So, I've described it in many different ways in other videos, but today, I guess what I want to say is leading up to the conjunction as the sun's coming in closer to Neptune or Venus or Mercury, you might find that Venus, Neptune, and Mercury are weakened because the sun is kind of overshadowing. The sun is so much bigger. Like if Neptune's this big, the sun is like this big. So it becomes quite insignificant, and it's known as being under the beams of the sun. So the sun is completely bleaching it out, and then as they get closer and closer, the sun gets to a particular destination, and then it's known as being combust. It's like the sun is burning up Neptune or Venus retrograde or Mercury, and then as they come into the same place, as we see it from our position on Earth, it appears that the sun is illuminating and kind of shining the energy of Neptune, Venus retrograde, or Mercury retrograde to us in such a way that we fully see it. It's almost like there's a halo, it's like, whoa, there it is. So to me, it's this burst of energy of Neptune, Venus retro, and Mercury retro. Now, they're very, very tight windows of opportunity. Now, if you are if you are a supporter of this channel, I'll be adding in the exact time frames of these three Cazimis with some suggestions of how you might use those into the community space for us, because I really think it's important to work with the exact Cazimi times so that you get the brilliance of them, but not the combust planetary energy, because that's it's not going to work the way you want it to. And of course, as they start to separate, the sun becomes, as it comes the other side, so I put my hand in front and you lost my voice, but the sun then is completely drowning out that planet again, and so on and so forth. So we've got these three very specific but intense and potent times in this 2-week period. So it's not just 2 eclipses, it's not just the astrological new year, it's not just a conjunction with the North Node, giving you a date with destiny, but it's also 3 really potent planetary moments. And of course, it's not all. There's Mars in a square with Chiron, amongst other things. It's the 3rd Chiron-Mars square of this set. There was one on the 13th of October 24, and also one on the 4th of February in 2025. Now this is the last one. Whatever came up for you, 2 or 3 days either side. So, like mid-October and also in the late January and into the first week of February, what emotional things were coming up where you felt triggered or vulnerable, I would say is a big one. You may well find that same theme comes up again, but this time it's not to explore it. It's not to realize you made the wrong decision. It's to clear it and to close it down and to say, okay, that is done now. So, I think that is really quite a helpful aspect. And, maybe that already is ringing a bell, but it's worth taking note of those times. And then this is really quite magical. Venus retrograde goes back into Pisces. She's exalted in the sign of Pisces. She's so happy in the sign of Pisces. She's like a fairy godmother. Well, Cinderella, she's really great there. And she comes into a conjunction with Neptune. Now, in the same way that I said that Mercury and Uranus were like different harmonics of thought and communication and the message, one's earthbound and the other is higher. Venus and Neptune are very much the same. Venus is the earthly love and connection and flow. Neptune is a higher harmonic of it. Obviously, they both have creativity and flow and as a shared theme. So one is terrestrial and one is celestial. So this is a very loving and divine moment. And this is I think the second in a set of 3. So yeah, it's pretty special. So all in all, this 2 weeks is pretty incredible. And there's just so much more. You see I've written VSP. I'm talking about the Venus star point. I will be talking about this. I did a Venus retrograde video last week. I'll be doing part 2 around about the 20th. So if you want to know more about the Venus star point, about the evening star Venus disappearing and coming back as the morning star Venus, there's a lot of stuff going on there. And if Venus is one of your, if it's a topic of interest right now, I would absolutely dive right into that. But anyway, let's have a look more specifically as to how this is going to affect you, a Leo, during this time. But before I do that, I just want to quickly say a big hello to everyone that supported this channel thus far. Last year, if you've been supporting me regularly or even earlier this year, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And of course, if you do want to support this channel, the best way to do it, you can go to my what's it called, buymeacoffee.com, which is down below. I think it's just called coffee.com, KOFI. But I've also just set up a community whereby if you like this forecast and want to go just a bit deeper, then I've got 2 extra forecasts for you for members. So that's there, and all the details are below. But anyway, on with this forecast. So I've drawn up 3 charts for you, and you can see one of them's a total lunar eclipse. That's this one. You'll see there's the eclipsed moon, and here's the sun. Then the next chart I've put in, which is roughly halfway, and that's the moment of the sun going into Aries. That's here. You'll see the sun and Neptune appear to be exactly the same point. That's because Neptune literally moves over, not much later. Neptune is so close to going into Aries. And then the last chart of all, again, you see Neptune is right at the tail end of Pisces, but by that time the sun and moon are creating the new moon in Aries. It's wow, it's such a strong dynamic. Look at this chart. It's got lovely sacred geometry there. So what does this mean to you as a Leo then, or somebody with Leo rising? I think the important thing to bear in mind is the sun is your ruling planet. And so the starting point of the eclipse with Virgo, the opposition, that's the time when you feel like you might be falling apart or overwhelmed. The sun is like the personality and the persona. The moon is the psyche, the emotions, the spirituality. It's like the yin to your yang. The sun is the yang, the outward you, the physical you. The moon is very much the psychic you, the non-visible you. You could say the feminine side. So it feels like you are kind of very much, torn between these two personas and trying to work out how they might fit together. At the time of their opposition, they are sort of working on the 2nd and 8th house. Now, both of these houses share, I think, a lot to do with values and resources, i.e. income, like the income that you are earning, the money that you're earning yourself here, and also the shared assets that you might have with other people. So that's an ongoing theme, and possibly a sense of frustration, between what you're earning and what your partner's earning, and so on and so forth. But it's also a place of where you value yourself. So, earnings and values, they do work together, almost as if the more you feel deserving yourself, the more you can receive. So there's a lot about receivership here, and then a lot about receiving from your partner and sharing with your partner, or sharing with the family assets, or working with the banks, the building societies, anyone else that's kind of got something to do with how you manage your finances. This is all really highlighted around the total lunar eclipse. But if we're going on things like how you value yourself, like, so your self-esteem could be really triggered around this time. It's also, on the other side of this, how do other people value you? So how do your family value you? How does your partner value you? How do the friends, how do your like the family history? What does family history tell you about how you were valued? And so all of the attitudes and behaviors, the resentments, guilt, shame, blame, anger, pity, all of those different things about and sort of like personal baggage, which again is a resource. Like, how does that land? So the chances are, as you're coming up to this total lunar eclipse, it's brought everything up to bear, not just your physical resources, but your emotional resources. So, I'm kind of pleased for you after this particular eclipse that we're coming into the waning phase. You can start to discern and take away some of these things that seem overwhelming. Hopefully it will bring so much up that you can start to let go, really let go, and let some things pass away, which I think could be quite helpful. So yeah, that's the first thing that's to do with your ruling planet, the sun. The next chart is when the sun goes into Aries. So, I mean, that is also a really important point for you as somebody ruled by the sun. And obviously the last one, the sun is involved. So, this is a very involved time of the year for you. But if I go back, you'll see, the sun is making this conjunction here. The sun literally just last week made a connection with Saturn. So, before this actual forecast started, it was started on the end of the Sun-Saturn conjunction. That feeling of being serious, that feeling of needing to get your head down, to do something, to be quite deeply focused and to have some discipline. So, the full moon that's come up on the back of this is that I've been working really, really hard. So yeah, this is great that you're starting to move forwards, and you're doing that from a place of taking yourself seriously, wanting to clear any extra baggage that you don't need anymore, working to resolve your debts, working to clear up any old fog and fogginess and disturbance about money, and in particular family money. And you're working towards feeling like you are changing your life. The sun in a conjunction to North Node, it's like, I want to put my family and my whole inheritance, my inherited karma, maybe you could say, like your family DNA, I want to put it onto a whole new footing. So that's pretty significant in this part of your chart. And then the sun connecting to Neptune, it's like blasting out anywhere where there might be misinformation in your family, old stories, old lies, the stories you've told yourself, where you've lied to yourself and where other people have lied on your behalf. That all becomes really, really clear, and you can start to unravel it and let it go. It's going to be helpful. And you can forgive. Forgiveness is a real Neptune theme, at the higher ends of Neptune. So I do think you're coming into a time of beautiful forgiveness, so that as you're starting this new year, boy, oh boy, it's like, yeah, happy new year to me. The sun goes into Aries and there's a whole new possibility. And of course, we're still in this waning moon phase of letting go, but letting go into the unconscious, really trusting in the process, trusting yourself and trusting the universe, so that that everything you're letting go of and creating space for, there's a whole new possibility for you to move forwards with. Now, as the sun comes into Aries, we're coming into this very, very involved time, Leo. I really love this. So, the moon started off here. By this point, the moon is in Sagittarius. This is quite nice. In the 5th house, it can bring a bit of romance in. And that's happening from the 19th. On the 22nd, it goes into Capricorn. And around that time, the sun is making a conjunction with Venus. Now, obviously, like I said, I'll be putting the Cazimi times into the community space, the Feel Good Astrology community space. But at the day of the conjunction with Venus in this 9th house, this is where the sun is now. It's highlighting your 9th house of experience. And actually, in this year ahead, this new year ahead, starting on the 20th, the emphasis in your life is to come away from these old woes of old family karma and bitching and the kind of weight, the heavy weight of, when things just don't feel uplifting. It's time to shrug it off and to realize that you're coming into whole new times. And they are times of adventure, of expansion, of a clear new vision. I'm super excited for you, because I'm married to somebody with Leo rising, so this is great. But anyway, the moon during this time in Capricorn, so you're getting down to business, and the sun and Venus come into a conjunction. It's really helpful. See, for you, Venus rules your 10th house of career and also the community that you're working in, and that could be your community you serve within your business, for instance. So as the moon's in Capricorn up until the 24th, the Venus Cazimi can be really changing how things are configured in terms of your career and the community you serve. Then when the moon goes into Aquarius, goes into your 7th house, it's all about relationships. Now, it's interesting because the moon's going to make a conjunction with Pluto and this great big flipping lovely kite of energy, this quick, fast moving, trine to Uranus, sextile up to Saturn, the North Node, Neptune, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, and also this trine to the South Node. I mean, this is a very, very special day, I would say. In particular, the 24th, really early on with the moon in Aquarius and the sun going into the retrograde Mercury Cazimi. Super special. I think some really new ideas are going to come in that are going to help you blast open any restrictions you've put on your consciousness and way of thinking and way of being. And because Mercury rules how you are networked and also how you are receiving money, whatever you were creating the day before about your career and the community you serve, I think is then going to be activated, and you have ideas about how that's going to blast in some money. So I see this working really nicely for you. Really, really good. And then, we're really almost at the home stretch. We're coming in, we're clearing a path for greater freedom, like clearing a path to a greater sense of space to be yourself and to let all of this old stuff disappear, and kind of vanish, like let all the old trauma and all those old things just go. And the last moments, we've got the Mars square Chiron. I mean, that's the last act of this. Chiron in the ninth is showing the pain of being different, and the pain of being the way seer in your family. And Mars here is this is the pain. These are the very hurtful secrets about your waywardness, or the painful secrets of what it's cost you to be different, or to be ostracized or scapegoated, for instance. And the self-sabotage involved to keep those beliefs going. I mean, that's going to become very obvious. But the great news is the very next day, Venus retros into Pisces. It's like she's pouring some kind of balm, some aloe vera, to calm down any old ancestral hoo-ha. She's coming into a conjunction with Neptune, encouraging lashings of generosity and forgiveness, and hopefully a tender, loving kiss. And then, the moon heads straight over that, taking the Venus and Neptune energy into this new moon on the 29th, the eclipse that could really change things and create more freedom for you. So boom, there it is, Leo. I hope that was helpful. I feel this is kind of a magnificent time for you. So last thing I just want to share with you, really, this is a magnificent time, right? Really, 2 flipping awesome weeks to clear away the old, to set you up for something new and magical. If you want to know more about how this is going to translate into your relationships and your connection with others, like romantically, sexually, with your obviously your partners, but also how things might work with your family and friends, what's changing. Or if you want to know about your career and ambitions, then please consider supporting this channel and getting involved with the membership. All the details are below. You get 2 lots of readings every 2 weeks, and also a chance to hang out with other people that really love astrology, and you can like share conversations, maybe learn from each other. And I'll also join you once a month for a kind of hangout as well. So, you may well find that floats your boat. So anyway, lots and lots of love to you. Have a fantastic month ahead, and speak to you real soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.